Welcome to Walkouts and Knockouts, brought to you by the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I'm your host, Johnathan Ramlakan, aka Three Piece Combo. We have the fight genius, Mr. Ariel and Johnathan. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, brother. I'm excited for tonight's fight. That main event is gonna be a banger. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Kevin Holland became one of my favorite fighters last year. I mean, how could you not love the guy? He talks trash in the ring. He told Joaquin Buckley to wipe his booger about 5 seconds before he knocked him out. Right, so he's a pleasure to watch in the ring. He's super polite outside the ring. If you ever watch him in any of his pregame or conference interviews, he's always super polite. He's a cool guy. He's just fun to watch, man. And on the other side, we have Derek Brunson, who's coming in. He's kind of the true epitome of the term gatekeeper, right? He loses to the really good guys, the Israel Adesanyas, the Robert Whitakers, those kind of guys, the Yoel Romeros, but he'll beat up the guys like Ian Heinisch and the lesser guys. So let's get a little bit into this fight because this is a pretty fun main event, right? There's a lot on the line here if you think about it. The winner of this fight is going to enter that echelon of title contenders, and for Kevin Holland, it's the prime time for him right now. He's still on that good side of 30 years old. He's still on that 5-fight win streak. The time for him to strike is now because the iron's hot, right? 5 wins in 2020, tying the UFC record. And on the other hand, you have Derek Brunson, who's 37 now. He's had a couple of shots at these top guys like the Israel Adesanyas, the Robert Whitakers, and tried to get himself into that title picture, but he's never been really able to do it. And at 37, this might be his last chance to enter that echelon of title opportunities, right? So getting into this main event, it's going to be a fun one. We have these two guys, a little bit of a contrast of styles because Brunson uses a lot more offensive wrestling than we've seen Holland use. But let's get into the X's and O's of this fight. How do you see this fight going down, and what do you like so much about it?
Real quick, just want to shout out Kryptonite. We appreciate you being with us, buddy. Absolutely. Johnathan and I would absolutely agree with you that Kevin Holland is a blast to watch fight, man. He talks shit and just gets in your face, and he doesn't care. You hear everything with him, and it's so much fun watching him fight when there aren't fans in the stands, and you can hear everything he says. That Jacare fight where he was talking smack to him and telling him, "Oh, nice, good shot," and all of that before he knocked him out from his butt and then from his knees. Like, that was insane. But yeah, from an X's and O's standpoint, Derek Brunson, good wrestler, likes to muck up fights. He'll wear you down grappling. He loves to wear on guys and push them up against the fence and try to sap their energy. If he gets on top, you are screwed. He's big, he's powerful. The ground and pound is real with him. On the feet, I think he's somewhat mechanical. Like I said, though, lots of power, hard left kick from southpaw that he likes to throw to the body. But I just don't think he's quite at Holland's level. I feel like Holland's a much better fighter. He's more technical and more creative on the feet. He can throw so much more at Derek Brunson that I don't know how well Derek Brunson can deal with it. But like I said, he's just so much fun, man. I don't know how you cannot be a Kevin Holland fan. Maybe some of the traditionalists and the martial arts purists might not, love Kevin Holland, and I could kind of get that. I see that, but I don't agree with it. I think it's a shitty opinion. That guy's a blast, and if you don't like him, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. Sit back, relax, and enjoy tonight's fight because I think it'll be a good one.
And the best part about tonight's fight is that there is no crowd, right? We know that the crowd is coming back soon, but it's going to be really nice to hear Kevin Holland talk a little bit more shit in the ring after all week he's been talking about how Derek Brunson is not DMing him back. If you look at the weigh-ins, he goes in for the hug, and Brunson doesn't even hug him back. He just kind of folds his arm, acts all cool, right? So it's a really, really fun fight because these guys are kind of in each other. Holland more than Brunson is in the other guy's ear. But speaking of the special talent that Holland is, I was looking up some of his stats. He's 6th all-time in significant strike accuracy, period. All-time, all weight classes. Currently, the number 1 most accurate striker, significant strike accuracy in the middleweight division for any country fighter. And he's 4th overall in middleweight division and strike differential, and landing about 1.65 more. So he's coming in the much more technical striker. Like you said, he'll throw a lot at you. He has that little low leg kick. He has that missile of a right hand that he knocked Buckley out with, and that's that's the shot that we've seen hurt Derek Brunson a couple of times, right? That shot down the middle just catches him just right with those good strikers that know how to set it up. And he tends to leave his body open for that kick as well. And Kevin Holland's one of these guys that'll kick your inside leg kick. He'll give you that outside leg kick. He'll work your way around. He switches a little bit, not too much, but he switches a little bit. And he's also really active off his back, right? It's not a place you want to be with Derek Brunson on top of you because, like you said, when he gets on top of you, he's really, really trouble. But he's not the most accurate or most prolific takedown artist either, right?
Right. He wears on guys more so than, he doesn't have like some dominant power double that he just takes guys down with consistently. Sorry, Jonathan, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. You're exactly right. He'll strike you to where you're backing up to the fence. He'll just kind of throw some wild ones, and then he'll go down for a double leg, right? He'll try to maybe bring you down to a knee. If he doesn't get it, he'll go back to the clinch. He has nice elbows on the break of the clinch, and we saw, I think Thiago Santos was the guy that hurt or Kevin Holland. It might have been him or Darren Stewart that hurt him on the elbow off the break multiple times, but
Sure.
We got to watch for that as well because Kevin Holland doesn't really defend off the break of a clinch anymore, or not anymore, but as much as Derek Brunson has. So it's going to be a really fun fight. Two guys going at it. Like we said, the winner is going to become a legit contender. Like one of these guys are going to become in that conversation. So it's going to be fun to see which one of these guys, if Kevin Holland continues this rise, he could become a pay-per-view star. He could become a guy that people pay to see because, hey, this is a guy that, we all go to the arena and we're all going to shut up whilst he fights because we want to hear what he's going to say, right? It's going to be a quiet and then it's going to pop, do things like that. He has that fun fight. But any final thoughts on this fight before we get on to the co-main event?
So I wanted to ask you, and he's ranked 10th in the division right now. Where's Brunson at? Is he like 7, 8, something like that?
Yeah,
7?
7.
Okay. So you would think that one win gets you into, if you're Kevin Holland and it's a dominant and impressive performance, it probably gets him to a spot where he's maybe in a title eliminator, best case scenario, more likely has to fight another top 5 guy before he gets to that position, right?
Correct.
Do you
I would
think,
probably,
yeah,
go ahead, my bad.
No, I just wanted to ask like how you see that and if you think that with one more fight, he can put himself in a position to fight Izzy Adesanya. And just real quick, tell me, how excited would you be for that fight?
Oh my God. Well, Adesanya is my favorite fighter, and Kevin Holland's right now is like top 5 for me. So that would be a heartbreaker, right? But I was talking to my cousin about that fight. That press conference before the fight would be amazing. There would be crowd at that one because that would be one that happens a year from now. But getting into how Kevin Holland can get himself into the title picture, there are a couple of fights coming up, right? There's the Robert Whittaker versus Gastelum fight coming up. There's the Till versus Vettori fight coming up, right? So those guys, the winner, we know that if Till wins impressively, he's probably going to be next for the belt, although Whittaker probably deserves it a little bit more, but Adesanya's been asking for Till for a little while now. So I think that if Holland wins, he faces probably the loser of the Till Vettori, right? Or the loser
or the winner. You don't think he might fight the winner of Gastelum and Bobby Knuckles if Darren Till gets the next title shot? Or
I mean that puts Robert Whittaker in a really tough position though, right? Because if he wins that fight, then he has already earned to me the number 1 contendership, right? So Till is just kind of a formality happening right now. So I think if Robert Whittaker wins the fight against Gastelum, that he should not fight until he fights for the belt because he does not. For Whittaker, it wouldn't make sense, right? It would make sense for Holland to take that fight, but I think for Whittaker it wouldn't. But getting into what Krypton's Knight was saying, asking who would be the next one he would call out. I think maybe like we were talking about, one of these 4 guys, right? It would be maybe a Gastelum, right? A Gastelum, or I think probably a Vettori would look really good on his record because Adesanya beat Vettori by split decision. If he can beat Vettori, and these are guys that have a little bit of heat too. Him and Vettori have a little bit of a heat behind what they're talking. So that would be a fun fight. I think he calls out Vettori if he wins. And we don't know if that fight happens, but there's a little bit of heat behind that fight already. So keep your eye on that one for that to happen. But I think that would be a fun one. But yeah, let's get into that co-main event because we had the last fight was scrapped with Gregor Gillespie, and man, that was going to be, and Brad Riddell, that was going to be such a fun fight, right? These are 2 guys that are really small for the lightweight division, right? They were both guys that were small for lightweight division, but they're really crisp, right? They keep everything really tight. Gillespie has that really mean left hook that comes so fast and so blind, and he's so, nice with it. And on top of that, he has a really good ability of chain his strike together with his wrestling, right? And his ability to take you down. So I think that's going to be a fun one, or that will be a fun one once that gets rescheduled. But let's get into that current co-main event. We have Max Griffin taking on Kenan Song. This is a fun fight. Both these guys aren't the highest ranked right now, but this is a fight that is kind of going to tell who's going to be potentially ranked in the future, right? If Max Griffin can actually string some wins together, he'll be in a good spot, because if you look at his last 6, 4 losses and 2 wins, that's not the best record in the UFC, right? So he might be on the chopping block. He might be fighting for his job. So Max Griffin is going to want to come in and definitely try to get his win. And then if you look at a Song in contrast, 4 of his last 5 have been wins, right? His only loss has been a decision loss to Morono, which is we know is a solid fighter as well. So this is a pretty fun fight. You have Max Griffin, who is a little more agile, a little more athletic, a little more bouncy, back and forth, and he wastes some of his movements sometimes, but he's a little more risky, right? And then you have the calculated and crisp Kenan Song. And looking at the odds, I was a little surprised to see Griffin as the favorite, and you were too. Talk to me about how you feel about this fight.
So I'll start with Griffin. I think he's got pretty, decent size. Striking is very linear. He moves straight forward, straight back a lot, I find. He can get caught as a result on the way coming in and going and getting out of range. I think he's a little bit too upright in his stand-up. He's not crazy quick. I think as far as Kenan Song is concerned, he's just big, powerful welterweight. Has some deficiencies. He's not quite a great grappler, but he gets by. Head movement isn't great. He can get caught. I think, I feel like Kenan Song is just, the power is going to be a big difference in this fight. I feel like he can catch Griffin. I think he's probably a better striker as well. But yeah, like I thought his knockout over Callum Porter was really, really impressive, and I think we could see something similar in this fight. What do you think about it, Johnathan?
Yeah, so I think this, honestly, before this fight got moved to the co-main event, this was one of the fights that I was looking forward to as potentially a fight of the night, right? Because you have a guy that's going to sit back a little bit more. Song is very predictable, right? He makes his reads, and he'll kind of stay within his bounds of his abilities. And for Griffin, he'll take some more calculated risks, but that hasn't always paid off for him, right? So I think for this fight, Griffin is going to have to slow down a little bit more. I'm going to want to see him use his wrestling a little bit more too, right? He has the ability to take the fight down. He doesn't do it as much as I think he should, but he does have that ability to take you down. So I want to see him take Song down a little bit, kind of take him out of this comfort zone, do kind of what Derek Brunson does, right? Because if you just turn this into a straight kickboxing fight with Song, it's going to be really hard. I think all but 2 of his fights, of his wins for Song, has been finishes either sub or knockout, right? So you don't want to give this guy the ability to either get on top of you, one, or get comfortable in the striking game, because he has that ability to knock you out. So I think for this fight, Max Griffin is going to have to come out, use his wrestling, pull a little bit of a Derek Brunson, make the fight a little more murky, get into the clinch, use some of those elbows, work into his ability, because he's naturally more athletic, right? He has that more athletic ability. He's a little more explosive, but Song has that precision, and that's really what's the difference in this fight. And for Song, I think he's going to want to stay on his outside. He's good when he's pressuring, but he's also good as a counter striker as well, right? He has good reads both ways, and I think for him, just staying on the outside, picking Griffin off, when the reads are right, and just making the simple reads, right? Because Griffin is going to take some risks more than likely, and I think that Song is going to be able to pick him off and just snipe him and drop him eventually. We know that Griffin can get dropped. It has been something we've seen before, but I think Song has the ability to stay a little more consistent with what he's going to do, and just game plan a little bit better, and just stay outside and snipe him down. Any final thoughts on this one?
On the fight, no, but I just want y'all in the comments to appreciate how smart and how serious about this my co-host is, because my guy Johnathan over here lives and breathes mixed martial arts. I learned just as much as anybody else listening to this while doing this with Johnathan, and I hope everyone appreciates it. That's all.
I appreciate you, bro. I think we learn a lot from each other. That's the circle of knowledge, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome, man. But great co-main event. Unfortunately, we lost that Gregor Gillespie fight, because although that, just get into that a little bit more, although he's had a great record, he fights like once a year. So he's not a guy that you get to see very often, right? So Just wish you see a little bit more of him. But let's get into this next fight, because this is a pretty exciting fight, right? Cheyenne Bays is coming in off of a win on the Dana White Contender Series, and she's taking on Montserrat Conejo, who's coming in on short notice. Now, Conejo is a really fun fighter to watch, right? She's a little more stout. Obviously, she has the little disadvantage in the striking or in the reach. She's a little bit shorter, 3 inches shorter, 5 foot compared to 5'3". Reach is a little bit shorter as well, but she keeps everything really tight. She does have that nice crisp boxing as well. And she's a really fun fighter to watch. She reminds you of just kind of, a really tight, can't call to a name right now, but somebody who's like a Dustin Poirier almost, right? Where he keeps everything really tight and he keeps it really sharp, and he keeps everything really inside of himself. And getting onto Cheyenne Bays, something I learned about her, which I did not know recently, she dropped out of high school to become a mixed martial artist. Like, that is some dedication. She faced Jillian Roberts on the amateur scene. Jillian Roberts obviously is in the UFC right now, so she has, a little bit less fights on the professional standpoint other than for Conejo, but she does have the experience as far as the amateur fights go. But this is going to be a fun one because Cheyenne Bays has the ability to take you down. They're both really, really good on the front foot. So I think whoever pressures this fight is really just going to be the one that is able to impose their will, right? Because these are two fighters that if you're on the back foot, they're not quite as good, but if on the front foot, they look really, really good. So what do you see about this fight that keeps this one interesting?
Interesting fight to me. I like both fighters. Both, I really enjoyed scouting both of these fighters leading up to today's show. Ruiz is compact, strong, has really good throws from the clinch. She, is a pretty solid grappler. Landed a nasty arm lock submission in her last fight in Invicta, I think it was, against Janessa Morandin. That was really impressive. As far as Cheyenne Bays goes, good power, solid kickboxing. She has a, substantial height and reach advantage against Ruiz. She's pretty aggressive. I think she's an all-around, well-rounded fighter. I think in this fight, it's going to be important for her to maintain a good distance in the striking range. A lot of teeps, a lot of front kicks, use the jab and work off of that. I do think this fight favors her as a result if she's able to keep it upright, like I said. This is a good fight. Like I kind of don't, I'm still not 100% on what my pick is going to be, but I'm going to kind of make up my mind as we talk more and go through it. But this is a good fight. I think there's interesting aspects that favor both fighters. If Ruiz can, get the fight to the ground, initiate the clinch, she's got really good throws from there. Like I said, that can give her an advantage. And if Cheyenne Bays is able to keep the fight on the feet, like I said, use the jab, use the teep, work off of that, the fight favors her up there. So it's an interesting one. Good stylistic matchup in my eyes.
I think both of these fighters, this actually has a low-key fight of the night potential to it, right? Because both these fighters just throw a lot of fireworks. They both have the wrestling ability, so that might negate each other out a little bit, right? So I think this one might be a sleeper fight on the night, like for the women. And this is a pretty big fight as well, because if you look at the implications for this fight, both these fighters are making their UFC debut. And the strawweight roster for the women's division is not very, heavy. I think it's 30 or 40 fighters deep, maybe, if that, right? So if you can get a win on your UFC debut and string in 2 or 3 together, all of a sudden you're a ranked fighter in that division. And that's why this is a big fight for these guys coming in, making their UFC debuts. I think it's going to be a close one. I think the odds are a little outrageous. I do like, buys as a favor, but as a favorite, but I think that it should be a lot closer. I think that this is a fight that both these fighters have tremendous skills, and it can really just balance out to make a really good fight. Any final thoughts on this one before we get into this next one? It also could be a banger as well.
I was muted. My bad. I'm good. Let's go to the next one.
Awesome, man. So let's get into this next fight, because this is going to be a fun one in the bantamweight division. Obviously, that's the division that's striking hot right now with the Aljamain Sterling versus Peter Yan. Really controversy. Hot. And then also, if you guys didn't know, they also booked TJ Dillashaw making his return against Corey Sandhagen, the Sandman. Just had that freaking incredible knockout of Frankie Andrew, a flying knee. And then he also had that spinning kick, I think, for Marlon Moraes, or that high kick that knocked him out. So, hey, Sandman is striking right now. I think he's probably the biggest loser from the Jan and Sterling controversy because he was supposed to be next, but now they got to run it back, and he probably doesn't want to wait for that fight. But if he is able to put Sandhagen down, or not Sandhagen, Dillashaw down, that's going to be a big name under his belt. But let's get into this fight because this is going to be a fun one. I mean, everybody has been kind of saying this, that Adrian Yanez is kind of like the bantamweight Jorge Masvidal. He kind of fights similarly. He has that similar facial features. Same beard thing and everything. And then you have Gustavo Lopez, who's a little more well-rounded, right? He does have the ability to take you down. He'll try to maybe get you a submission. He doesn't, have that many, but he'll try to get you submitted. What do you like about this fight? Because I think this is a pretty interesting fight coming up in the bantamweight division.
I see a few similarities to the last fight, right? So like Yanez is bouncy. He has really sharp stand-up, great hands, a lot like the aforementioned Jorge Masvidal. Good counter right hook that he loves to use. Good takedown defense. He has he had a sick, and I mean sick, right hook, left high kick KO in his last fight against was it Victor Rodriguez, I believe. That was insane. So he's really fun to watch. Good striker. Reminds again of Jorge Masvidal, and so his fights are going to be entertaining. As far as Lopez goes, he's compact. I think he's like 5'5". Correct me if I'm wrong, something like that. Hits like a truck. Decent grappling, decent submissions. He's mean. He looks to take you out whenever the fight hits the mat, which is, where he probably has the best chance at winning this fight. But I think on the feet, it's dangerous either way because, again, he's got a lot of power. The dude hits hard as hell. So this one's really interesting. Gonna be interested to see, who's able to kind of impose their will and decide where does this fight take place. Is Yanez able to keep this fight on the feet, or is Lopez able to, kind of take away that distance, make Yanez respect his power on the feet, and then that'll open up the striking game for him. The grappling game. Pardon me.
Right. Because if the thing is that we know that Yanez knows that the shot might be coming, right? So if Lopez just shoots and he does it without with telegraphing it and not hides it behind his hands, then Yanez is going to do a great job. The thing with these bantamweights compared to maybe your middleweights or your heavyweights, they're much more able to scramble, right? To get out of those takedowns, to hop back on their feet. They're just much more agile. So those takedowns aren't as easy to come by. And even if they get taken down, they're able to get back up a little bit quicker. That's why the guy like Askar Askarov is such a threat in division, because he takes you down and holds you down. So he might be next for that flyweight division as well. But getting away for that, getting to this fight a little bit more, I think you're absolutely right? Yanez has that crisp boxing style. He'll keep his hands really tight to his face, but on top of that, he'll also back up and he'll check his range. And the good thing is he does have a little bit of a reach advantage in this fight, so I think that'll give him the advantage in the striking. As for Lopez, I think he's going to have to, like you said, hide the grappling behind the striking. He's going to have to go with his hands first. He does have those heavy hands, and he does have that ability to hit those shots if he wants to. But if he does that and then he backs you up and then he gets the takedown, that will benefit him even more. That'll make the fight harder on Yanez, and I think that'll be able to put him a little bit ahead in this fight and able to at least get him a decision win. And if he's able to keep him down and make the fight, if you make Yanez work from his back, you're not going to get much out of it. You'll get a little bit, but it's not going to be anything too crazy that you'll get off his back. So that way you're going to get that win for this fight. But it's going to be a really, really fun one. Honestly, this whole main card is filled with some pretty fun fights, and there's a couple ones on the prelims as well that will tell you to look out for. That's going to be fun as well. But let's get to this opener because Don'Tale Mayes was supposed to take on Tai Tuivasa, but we have Harry Hunsucker coming in on short notice taking on Tai Tuivasa. Tai is a very, very fun fighter to watch, right? He's one of these guys that, like he says, he has a Hawaiian power. He'll come in, he'll slug. He has that ability to take the shots. He's a little bit husky. I'm not sure if he has to cut some weight to get down to 265, but he's a pretty husky guy. And he's going against Harry Hunsucker, who's pretty much exactly the same. If you look at the height, they're both 6'2", reach, both 75. Only difference is one guy's a southpaw, one guy's an orthodox fighter. So it's going to be fun to see which one of these guys is able to have their wills, have their will imposed. The great thing about heavyweights fights is that all it takes is one punch. But let's get a little bit into this fight. We didn't do too much research on Harry Hunsucker. We'll tell everybody that right off the bat because we thought he was going to fight Don'Tale Mayes, but we'll get into Tai Tuivasa. So what did you see from Tai Tuivasa coming into this fight?
So real quick, I just want to put it out there that I was 2 years old when I found out that Harry Hunsucker was a real person. As far as Tuivasa goes, I mean, he's, just such a beast, like powerful beast of a heavyweight, monstrous, absolutely crushing overhands. That Samoan strength is a real thing, guys. Like he can, if you take a low kick from that guy, you might end up in the hospital the next day because his legs are tree trunks. He generates so much power. He loves to use those kicks. His hands are mean and nasty. Again, not too familiar with Harry Huntsucker, but I find it hard to believe. Now, anything can happen in a fight, but I kind of find it hard to believe that he's going to take out Tuivasa. Tuivasa has a chin. He's just a beast. He's going to fight hard. And again, I mean, like his last fight, the knockout over Stefan Struve. I don't know if you agree with me on this one, Jonathan, but I love watching shorter, compact dudes just take out huge, tall dudes. Figure out a way to get within their range and then just crush them with those overhand rights. And I feel like Stefan Struve has been on the losing end of that more than anyone in UFC history. So I kind of feel bad laughing about it. But, man, I find it hard not to root for Tuivasa. He's just such a likable guy, and his fighting style is a ton of fun to watch.
I'm laughing at this comment that Harry Huntsucker sounds like a prank call name used from most Towers and Simpsons.
Oh, man.
But getting into the
Bart Simpson joke.
Right. Getting into the, I mean, speaking on the fact that we like seeing short guys knock out tall guys. If your name is Stefan Struve, you're a tall guy. You're going to be the only guy that's going to be on the end of most of these knockouts, right? Because you have him, you have the skyscraper. I can't remember his name right now, but you had like Tim Sylvia back in the day, right?
Yes, Tim Sylvia,
the maniac, dude.
That's a throwback.
The maniac, dude. He was nice. He was fun to watch. But him, these tall guys like Stefan Struve, like Tim Sylvia, they're going to be the guys on the back end of these short guys knocking them out because those are the taller guys. You know what I mean? So I think that's why we're laughing at it. But getting into this fight, like you kind of nailed it, honestly, with Tuivasa. He's, stout, right? He'll keep his guard kind of tight, but he'll also let his hands fly. He's pretty good diversity-wise. He'll throw some to the hand. He'll throw some nice body shots as well. I like his body work as well. And then he'll throw a little bit to the leg. So I think this is a fun fight. I think Huntsucker has a puncher's chance, but I don't see him really coming in and getting a win unless he just lands that, like we said, that puncher's chance shot that he has the ability to get. But I think Tuivasa comes in. I think he pieces him up. He stays a little more technical. Since Huntsucker's coming in on short notice, he's going to want to end it fast. Right. So just keep it, grimy. Push him up against the fence. You have a 15 to 20 pound weight advantage depending on how much you rehydrate and get after that, right? So you might have a 15, 20 pound weight advantage. So you push Huntsucker up against the fence for the first round. You beat on him. You wear on him. Give him good body shots, which drains the cardio out of him. Get into that second round, and I think Tuivasa probably ends it in the second round. Well, I gave away the prediction for that one. But anything else on this fight? I think that's pretty much all we got for this one.
No, man. Tell me what to look out for on the undercard.
Yeah, so we got a couple of front prelims to check out, right? First one I want to talk about is the Roman Dolidze fight. Dude, that guy is nuts. Like, he's built like a monster, and he's undefeated right now. He's one of these guys that, you can really just see come in and make a difference. He's a great grappler, right? He's going up against a guy in Trevin Giles, who's a really fun striker as well. I love watching him fight. But Roman Dolidze, dude, I have no idea how he makes 185. Like, he looks like a light heavyweight, and he's going to be a fun one to check out. And also, they have another one as well, Grant Dawson. If you like submissions, this dude's another guy that'll take you down. Goes for about 2 or 3 submissions every fight, so he'll get his opponent in some deep trouble. If you're a grappler, if you want to see some grappling, that's some fun fights. If you're looking for striking, this is the main card is what it's going to be, right? Because Tuivasa can strike, Yanez can strike, Baez and Conejo are you kidding me? Those are going to be 2 fights. I keep saying Baez because I've been reading that until I heard it be Baez until after that. So Cheyenne Baez, right? But that's a good one. Song Kanan, Matt Griffin, and Kevin Holland, Derek Brunson. The main card is your striker's paradise, but if you're looking for some underrated grapplers and a couple of guys that are going to come up, sneak up on these ranked fighters and make an impact, look for Grant Dawson, look for Roman Dolidze. These are 2 guys that are going to come in and going to choke you out, and it's going to be fun to watch them as well. So let's get into our main card picks. So let's get into the main event. Fun one, like we talked about earlier, Kevin Holland, Derek Brunson. Winner of this fight makes it to that title challenger echelon, maybe just one more fight, but has the opportunity to put themselves in that hat of title challengers. Let's get into this one because it's a fun one as well. What do you see happening in this fight, and who do you got?
I feel like, okay, real quick, I've got Kevin Holland. My one thing is I can't pick how he's going to finish the fight. I'm going to go knockout, but I can't pick via what, because the dude is so creative and so, spontaneous with what he decides to throw and how he throws it. He can knock you out from his butt like he did with Jacare Souza. He can do it on the feet. He can land a head kick. He can land a side kick. Like, I have no idea, but I'm going Kevin Holland via knockout. I think he gets into Derek Brunson's head a little bit and he catches him.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you there. I think that there is heavy risk for Derek Brunson, right? And everybody in the comments, Young Assassin, Kryptonite, everybody in there, just let us know what your predictions are as well, because we want to know what your predictions are for this fight. So, Kevin Holland, Derek Brunson, if you got it by decision or sub, just let us know in the comments, because I'm curious what you guys think as well. But I do have Kevin Holland in this fight, but I'm not going to lie, I'm really nervous to pick Kevin Holland, right? Because in his last fight against Jacare Souza, he took him down. Souza took him down really easily off of a leg kick, right? It wasn't even a body kick. It was a leg kick. He grabbed that leg. He chained him down. I did like that Holland went immediately to a triangle and started raining elbows into there. So it makes me very confident knowing that Holland will work so, abrupt. He'll work so good off his back, right? And he has that BJJ. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so he's good off his back as well. He's a second degree black belt in Kung Fu, so that's a fun one as well. But leg kick to the head, that's going to be a fun one. I would love to see that. I would love to see one of that. For a main event, for a guy like this, that puts you in top 3 contention. Like, you're fighting a top 3 fighter next. That's, if you do that, you're fighting a top 3 fighter next. But I think Kevin Holland's able to keep it standing. I think if maybe in 1 or 2 rounds, if he gets taken down, he's able to get back up, because we saw, dude, even Thiago Santos wasn't able to ground and pound him, right? Thiago was on top of him for a minute, and he wasn't able to ground and pound. He's talking to Thiago Santos. He's about that.
Gamer. He's a gamer, man.
Talking to him off of his back, saying like, man, this sucks. Like, you hit hard. Like, telling Thiago Santos he hits hard while he's getting ground and pound on top. And honestly, I think that's why he has such a good chin, because when he's in that flow state, his mental is always connected, right? He doesn't really lose consciousness. A lot of fighters kind of zone out into a zone, but for Kevin Holland, he goes into a different style of zone. And I think that's why he has such a good chin. I'm going to take Kevin Holland this fight. I'm going to say he gets a knockout as well. Let's go 3rd round, because he doesn't like to fight 5 rounds. He said that in his press conference. So I'm going to say 3rd round. I think he gets it done. I think Brunson does land a takedown, but I think Kevin Holland is able to negate it, work off his back, do pretty well. But I'm going to take Brunson by knockout. Hopefully no disqualification, dude.
Enough of that shit.
I'm done with that. I'm really, really done with that. But let's get into this co-main event. Fun one that we have right now. It's Max Griffin. He's minus 200, probably going as low as minus 225. Taking on Song Kanang, you can find him probably best at 185. Let's get into that one, because that's a fun one. You have Max Griffin, like who we talked about, a little more athletic, a little more explosive, a little more risk taker, right? 2 and 4 in his last 6. He doesn't have the most. He doesn't have the best decision making, right? He's not the best decision maker, but he has the power and he has the ability to actually put you down if he connects. But getting it to somebody like Song Yanong, a little more calculated, a little more predictable, but somebody who will stay within his bounds of his abilities, and somebody who will pick you apart and really work on breaking you down over the course of this fight. But let's get into your picks on this one. How do you see this one going down? Who do you see winning?
Kind of been thinking about the decision making of Griffin. I feel like it might come back to hurt him a little bit. The thing with him is, like I had said earlier, his striking I find is very linear. Like, he moves in, strikes and directly out. There's not a lot of side to side circling and understanding of general octagon ship. I don't know if that's a word. I know that Song Yadong is big. He's powerful. He's got his deficiencies as well, but if I'm going to have to pick, I'll go Song Yadong via, I feel like we always pick finishes on here. I'm going to go split decision, because it's a close matchup in my eyes, and I don't feel confident either way. I'm going split decision, Song Yadong.
Fair enough. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think Kanan should be the favorite in this fight. So if you're looking for a value play on some betting lines, go ahead and take Kanan, because I think he does have the ability to get this done. I'm going to agree with you on this one. I think Griffin might, be able to string one together. Who knows? we never know when a fighter turns the page, right? We never know what happens behind closed doors. We never know when maybe he goes to that, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of losing. You know what I mean? And he turns that page and becomes a great fighter. Somebody like Jan Blachowicz, who was on the chopping block, and now all of a sudden he's a champion, just beat one of the guys that wanted to be the greatest of all times in Israel Adesanya, right? So we'll never know when these guys are going to turn the page in their careers. We never know when they're going to, flip that mental switch. But I'm not sure if it's going to happen in this fight. I would love to see it. Max Griffin's a really fun fighter to watch, but I think Kenan has the better ability right now to keep the fight standing, even if he gets taken down. He's solid off his back, right? Now he's not great off his back, right? He's somebody that can, he has a couple of submissions in his career. He knows how to work his guard. He knows how to keep you in his guard. He knows how to stay out of damage. So even if he's getting a couple of shots, I mean, it just won't be. He'll mitigate that damage pretty well. I think Kenan's going to be able to win this fight. I'm going to take it by decision as well. I think Griffin, has his moments, but I think Kenan overall over the course of his fight just lands more. And I think it's a volume versus power thing, and we'll see Kenan get this win. But let's get into this third fight because this is a fun one because we have two women, making their UFC debuts. Bays did make her did fight last on the Contender Series, but that's not an official UFC debut technically. 5-1, she's the heavy favorite in this fight, -330, taking on Montserrat Conejo, who's a little more of an underdog, +260. I think if she had a full training camp, this fight would be a pick'em because of the skill set of both these fighters. But how do you feel about this one? Because I think this is a fun one. I think this is a much more close fight than the lines say.
Kind of feels a little bit striker versus grappler-y to me. So I'm going to go with Cheyenne Bays is able to use her, what I perceive to be an advantage in the kickboxing and the stand-up area to kind of dictate where the fight goes and keep herself at a safe distance for her to be able to land shots where Ruiz isn't able to land at the same consistency, and Bays wins via unanimous decision. Yeah.
So, before I look at the odds, because sometimes I like watching the fighters before I look at the odds just to see what I think, right? Mm-hmm. To not get influenced. I really thought that Conejo was a better fighter, right? I really thought that she was a little bit better. Maybe her competition wasn't as stiff as Bays, right? That's maybe the only knock on her thing, but she is 9-1. I think she has the skills. When she's on the front foot, she's able to do good. My only worry about this fight is that Bays has the reach advantage, right? She's a little bit taller, and it's going to be a little bit harder for Conejo to maintain her forward pressure over the course of this fight because she does a lot better when she's walking forward, but when she's walking back, she's not as good, right? So I'm going to take Bays. I think that's the safer pick, right? I really like Conejo in this fight, but it's hard to pick her on short notice. Let's go Cheyenne Bays. I'm going to say unanimous decision as well. And I do think it's going to be a fun fight, though. I think it's going to be a fun fight. I think this will show that sometimes on short notice that you can come in, and if you're able to keep yourself ready at all times, that you can still be a competitive fighter, if not get the win. I wouldn't be surprised if Conejo gets the win, honestly. You know what I mean? I really don't. So that'd be a fight. If you're betting, that's the one you stay away from because Conejo is a live underdog, and the favorite line for Bays +330 or -330, that's too high. I really wouldn't bet on that one by itself unless you're throwing it in a parlay. Let's get to this fun bantamweight fight. You have Adrian Yanez -220 taking on Gustavo Lopez +180. How do you feel like this one is going to go? Because this is another fun fight on this card.
This is a really fun fight. I think Yanez is just better. I think it's his time. He's bouncy. He's sharper. He has better hands, in my opinion. And so I think that he probably gets the W via TKO somewhere in the middle of let's go second round.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. Let me see what the odds are for TKO on that. I'm curious. Yanez by TKO?
Mm-hmm.
That's a +110, so that's a pretty that's not the best odds. But if you want to put the sleeper, Lopez by TKO is +650.
Oh, damn.
That's a fun one. You got Lopez by submission is +600. You never know. That's a sleeper right there.
What are the decision odds for Lopez?
For Lopez to win by decision, +480.
Man, these odds are wild.
They are. I might take some. I think that might
change my parlay too.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
But I agree with you. I think Lopez is the better fighter in this one. I think he has pretty good takedown defense as well, right? He has that ability to keep the fight standing, or even if he gets taken down, he's able to bounce back up. But you know what? I'm gonna go and I'm gonna take the underdog. I'm gonna take this one. I'm gonna take Lopez in this fight. I'm gonna take him by submission. I'm gonna say he's gonna take him down. He's gonna get Yanez. I'm just gonna, you know what?
Potential preview of Jonathan's part of Jonathan's parlay. I don't know.
No, I'm not gonna do a risky ass fight like that on a parlay.
Okay.
But
I thought you were feeling wild today.
Yeah, feeling a little wild today. You know, a little frisky. Why not? So we got different picks on that one. You're going with Adrian Yanez. I'm going with Gustavo Lopez by submissions. Let's see who gets this one done. It's gonna be a fun one as well. But let's get into the opener of the card. Probably the easiest one to pick. We got Tai Tuivasa versus our favorite Simpson character, Harry Hunsucker. I don't know if we're able to say that, legally. I hope we don't get any copyright strikes with that. But we have that one.
It's fun, y'all. It was fun.
Right. I appreciate everybody in the comments for checking us out if we if we get banned after that. But let's get into Hunsucker versus Tuivasa. How do you see this one going?
I think Hunsucker just absolutely overwhelms it. No, I'm kidding. I'm going Tuivasa. He's a beast. I don't know anything about Harry Hunsucker other than he has a great name, so I kind of like him on that end. But other than that, Tuivasa, Tui's too much fun. I think he gets the win via knockout in the first round.
Yeah. I'm right with you there. I do think that Hunsucker doesn't have enough coming in, right? He's coming in on short notice, and for a heavyweight to come in on short notice, like,
it's tough. He might have one good round.
Yeah, you got one good round. It's like his corner is like, all right, Hunsucker, you got 5 good minutes. Like, you got to go in there. You got to knock him out. If you're not, we're just going to leave the corner because we know you're not going to win this fight. Like, that's it, right? Yeah. But maybe he can just, use that name, use some magical ability. Maybe we're all living in a Simpsons episode. Who knows, right?
We'll find out tonight.
Yeah, we'll find out tonight for real. If Harry Hunsucker wins, I'll put a big old H on my chest. But I think Tuivasa gets it done. I think it's going to be more second round, right? I think that he's going to be able to, definitely would be an upside. I think he's plus 600 right now. Let me look at the odds. Yeah, plus 400. So let's see. Hunsucker by TKO plus 665. Yeah, that's a pretty fun one. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one. So if you really want some nice odds, that's there. But Tuivasa by TKO is minus 265, so that's pretty heavy odds. Kryptonite agrees with you. He thinks Tua by first round KO. I think I'm gonna take second round. You know what I mean? I think that he has the ability to slow this fight down a little bit, make it a little mucky, just wear Hunsucker down a little bit, and then after that first round, he'll piece him up. He's gonna just hurt him with like 5 or 6 straight, not like heavy power shots, right? But just shots that land clean, enough. And once these guys land clean enough in the heavyweight division, that's all it takes, really. It doesn't take more than that. But I'm gonna take Tuivasa. I'm gonna take him in the second round. I'm gonna take TKO, and I think it's gonna be a fun fight. I think this is an epic main card. I think the undercard is kind of underrated as well. I think there's a couple of up and comers that we can check out as well, but. Of course, before we get to the end of the show, we want to leave you guys with a little bit of money. Let's get to our parlay of the night. Ariel, let's hear your parlay of the night. What do you feel like is going to happen?
I'm going Kevin Holland. We're doing outright fight winner tonight. No, first round, second round, how they finish, just winner. So we're going Kevin Holland. I'm going Keenan Song, and I'm going with Yanez. That's my 3-fight parlay. What about you?
It's nice. So I'm going to go with Tai Tuivasa, right? I'm going to go with, because I don't want to give the same one as you. Let's go with Song. I like Song in that fight. And let's go Kevin Holland. Was that yours?
I had Song, Holland, and Yanez.
Okay, so I have Song, Holland, and Tai, and that's a plus 453. Right, so that's a fun one.
And if y'all are feeling crazy tonight and you just want to get wild, put something down on Hunsucker because the odds are insane, and then take who was the other big underdog? Ruiz? Was it Montserrat Ruiz?
Yes, Montserrat Ruiz is a live underdog.
Just throw those two together. Throw 20, 30, 40 bucks into the pond and see what you catch.
You never know. And you can always hedge your bets, right? You can always throw that parlay in there and then throw that Ruiz one as a Hail Mary. You never know what you get lucky with. But
don't blame us when you don't get your money back, though.
Yeah. Obviously, nothing that we say has any merit to what's going to happen in the future. Nothing.
Unless we're right.
Yeah, exactly. Unless we're right, because then we're the best MMA prediction show in the universe. But if we lose, nothing we say has any merit because we don't know the future. Nobody knows the future. We can just give our best accurate hypothesis, our most accurate prediction based on what the film we watched, everything, all that hoopla. But yeah, I want to thank everybody in the comments for checking us out. It was a fun show. Kryptonite, as always, I appreciate you coming. Young Assassin, appreciate you. Thanks for always commenting on the good, the bad, and the ugly as well. Thanks for checking us out. But yeah, man, any final thoughts on this card before we sign out today?
Not really. All I would say is that you were dead on the money. We don't predict the future. The only people who can predict the future are the writers of The Simpsons. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Appreciate you guys joining us. Next week, we are going to have a pay-per-view edition of Walkouts and Knockouts. We got 2 incredible title fights. Francis Ngannou. If you know how they do the pronunciation with the UFCs, I don't know if anybody wants to hear this joke, but they'll send an audio message of how they want their names to be pronounced. And Ngannou's Ngannou, and then Gastelum is Gastelum. Kelvin. Really? Gastelum. So if anybody watches DC and Helwani, they talk about some of the pronunciations they get. But Francis Ngannou taking on the greatest heavyweight of all time, Stipe Miocic. That's going to be a fun one, right? You have a real contrast of styles. Ngannou's last 5 fights, I think I watched his last 5 fights whilst I was taking a poop because it took 10 minutes, right? And his last 5 fights ended in the first minute. So he just knocks you out so quick. Ngannou is actually the guy that got me watching UFC heavily, right? The first fight that I started, because I watched some UFC fights. I watched maybe 1 or 2 when I was young with the Chuck Liddell on the Spike TV, and then I watched Conor Nate 1. But when I saw Ngannou versus Overeem and I saw that knockout, that's when I started watching almost every single week. And I think since then, every single week I've watched. I know last year I didn't miss one fight of weekends, but that was Overeem, or not Overeem. I guess I could thank Overeem for getting knocked out as well. But Ngannou is the guy that got me to UFC. So it's going to be fun to see him fight for the belts again. Obviously, last fight with Stipe, he didn't have the same ability as far as the defensive wrestling, right? He got a little controlled after that first round. It wasn't the best thing for him in this fight. But now he has Kamaru Usman in his corner, and that's going to be a fun one. That's going to be a really, really fun one. Also, in the co-main event, the new Brian Ortega, the bald head Brian Ortega coming in. This guy looked like he shaved his head and he became a different fighter, because when he was taking on the Korean Zombie, I thought that the boxing was going to be a lot closer than it was, dude. He destroyed TKZ. He made him look really, really bad. What do you think, before we close this out, what do you think about Ortega's odds or chances against Volkanovsky? He looked really, really good in that last fight.
Tough. That's an amazing fight. I don't know. I feel like Ortega has a lot of different areas where he can win this fight. But I don't want to give a prediction away. I kind of want to save it for next week, but that's a hell of a fight. Y'all should be excited. That's a great fight, guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's great because Alexander Volkanovsky has won. He's 20-1, right? 20-something-1, right? I think he only has 1 loss on his record. Could be wrong, but something close to that. But that's going to be a fun one. Let's read out that card. We got a couple people here checking us out, so let's check us out what we have on the next card coming up next week, because we also have a little bit of time before that next one. So UFC 260, Stipe versus Ngannou, Volkanovsky versus Ortega. Dude, Vicente Luque versus Tyron Woodley.
Sugar Sean O'Malley, Thomas Almeida. That's a fun card.
That is a very fun fight. And Kama Worthy is fun too. I think his name is the Death Star, his nickname. William Knight versus Alonso Menefield. That's a good one as well. William Knight is coming off of Dana White's Contender Series. He had these vicious, vicious elbows. A guy shot for a double leg, and he elbowed him in the head till he knocked him out. That was it.
Y'all better tune in next week. That's a hell of a card. I just got so excited. I didn't realize that was next week.
Oh, dude, Modestas Bukauskas is going to be fighting Jillian Robertson versus Miranda Maverick. That's going to be a good fight as well, dude. Shane Young, Omar Morales. Woo.
All around great card.
You have a guy that's 14-2, 10-1, 10-2 on the early prelims. Like that's Abubakar Nurmagomedov. Is that Khabib's somebody?
Yeah, I think it might. I think it is.
I think that's Khabib's cousin or something like that. Yeah, he's related to Khabib. He's 15-3. So we have a Nurmagomedov fighting in that card as well. So that's going to be a great one.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about this later, but we might be doing we might start the post game for that one. We might start doing post shows for that one, depending on how good that card is, just to see. But if you guys want us to do a post show, let us know in the comments, right? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think.
Leave us, because obviously we do the show for you guys, so it's whatever you guys want to see. So if there's something you guys want to see, or if you want a breakdown of an extra fight, or if there's something more you want, or if you want, I don't know, something, just who knockout of the night, fight of the night prediction, stuff like that. Just let us know. Just let us know in the comments, and we appreciate it as always. But yeah, man, great card tonight. Kevin Holland has the opportunity to become one of the title contenders coming up, possibly a future breaker star. If he gets a win, it's actually going to be 6 wins within 12 months, which is nuts because he started fighting in May of last year, and he'll have 6 wins before that. But yeah, man, Kryptonite saying do a post show. That'd be fun. Yeah, man. Let's see how it's going. And we got 9 viewers before we head now. So we appreciate you guys checking us out as always. Thanks for checking out Walkouts and Knockouts. Obviously, we got my man Ariel Atelias joining us. I'm Johnathan Ramakan. Appreciate everybody in the comments. And yeah, man, have you guys have a great day and enjoy the fights tonight.